Hi, this is Ravi Narayan, mentor at MentorSquare. In our discussion, we'll talk about framework for the business or the business model. A business in simple terms is buying low and selling high. That sounds pretty straightforward, but most entrepreneurs lose sight of this basic premise, and others hold on to it so tightly that the business stops growing. Establishing the basic tenets of the business, which is the business model of buying low and selling high, is our central idea for discussion today. In the process of generating revenue and keeping the expenses low, you open up the the jaw of profits, the jaw of generating cash, and even some economic value along the way. So let's look at selling high, which is where the idea of the opportunity usually comes in. So under selling high, question is, who is the customer? If you go back to the example that we had about the SMS that would be sent to the parents, the customer is that the school, are the teachers, or the parents, or children. Who has the need? Who has the basic pain in this case? It's obviously the parents. The second tenet under selling high, how do I reach the customer and lots of them? Do you go to them directly or through somebody else, the channels? What incentives do the channels get for taking you to the customer consistently? Going back to the example, well, you're using the school, the teachers to actually get the information. Now, what is the incentive for the school or the teachers to make this happen on a consistent basis? Are they the channels to get to your end customer, which are the parents? And if so, what's in it for them? So you can continue to sell high. Next, on selling high, who pays for my products and services? Pricing of the product is extremely crucial. You can't start out very high, you can't start out very low. You have to price it in the right band so that it can meet the need and then generating enough economic value, sustainability for you so that you can bring in the volumes and get this thing off the ground and working as a consistent business. There are, of course, different kinds of ways of doing this. In the internet game, there is something called the freemium. You offer it free for certain services, but then once you want to take this to the next level, you pay a premium. You can also price it as a license fee, one-time fee, or something that you pay on a monthly basis. In this case, the SMS case, we are actually talking about parents actually paying on a monthly basis. So, how strong is the need of the customer? Is it a sold product, something that you have to call a customer or speak to the customer to convince them about the value that you bring? Or is it something that is bought, something that they pick up from an aisle of a store or they pick it up from the internet, from an e-commerce site? At the same time, it's also important to understand how much the customer is willing to pay and how quickly are they willing to pay. If it's a vitamin, something that you need to take and it usually does a lot of good for you over a period of time, then it's not very urgent. And also, if you miss a couple of days, it really doesn't hurt you very much. But at the same time, if you have a headache or a pain in the neck, obviously you need to take care of it immediately. And you're willing to pay a lot more than what you would have paid for something that can wait for a little bit of time. And therefore, it's a painkiller and therefore can command a premium, and there is some immediacy to purchasing the product. Let's look at the other side of buying low. How do you create a supply which is not too expensive to create? What is the cost of sale? So, in the process of making these happen, in the process of selling the products or the services, what are the kinds of costs that you're incurring? Are you able to keep it as low as possible so that the fixed cost of sale, the variable cost of sale, the incentives associated with the sales activity, all of these are kept as low as possible? Furthermore, in the process of delivering on the products and services, are you able to keep your fixed and variables down as well? Very important, keep your expenses as low as possible. And therefore, the important question then becomes, how profitable is the business? What are the risks to this profitability. Obviously, it's best to start being profitable from day one, but there may be reasons why you won't do that, especially in an internet or a mobile game where some level of investments have to be made ahead of time so that profitability can be established in the near future. And therefore, it's important to assess the profitability and how that's going to be affected in terms of changing market environment. The business model also should evaluate the risks and sustainability of the business model. Obviously, as I have mentioned this before in other places, it's important for the customers to be there on a long term basis. The pricing should be something that is held as high as it can be. There are no regulatory constraints, especially maybe SMSs to parents may not be regulated as much, or it could be, but in some places the government could also have a restriction on how many SMSs can be sent and what are the costs associated with the SMSs. Could the SMSs be sent to people that are not subscribing to the service? There are lots of different things that could come in the way. And then, of course, the interests of the channels, because the channels are basically channels. So if they have the infrastructure to reach out to your market and customers, and they have choices, what is the reason that they should carry your products and services versus somebody else's products and services? How do you keep the channel's interest alive while you're going after this particular business model? And therefore, it's also important to see not only what's going to affect it in the near future, but also along the way. How long is this jaw going to be open? Or is it going to shut down on you so quickly that you don't know what happened? So these are the things that are very important to understand in terms of the business model. Know how to sell high, buy low, create profitability and cash, and therefore look at this very fundamental premise of the business framework. And once you have done this and you're able to evaluate it, you will have a good understanding of whether it's going to be for a long time, short period of time, and if it's for a short period of time, how do you continue to keep the profitability model going? What are the other changes that you will have to bring in? Some people anticipate this ahead of time and have new products in their pockets to bring out at the right time. But then sometimes you're just trying to do this by the seat of your pants. And that's where it's important to know exactly how you're situated so that you can take appropriate action. Thank you.